At 3:47 a.m. on March 15, 2025, a single hypersonic interceptor launched from Israel's Negev desert would rewrite the rules of Middle Eastern warfare forever. What happened in the next 11 minutes didn't just stop a missile, it forced Iran's military leadership into an emergency session that would last 18 hours and end with a complete strategic pivot. If you want to understand how one test changed everything, subscribe and hit the notification bell, because this story reveals the moment when defense became offense in ways no one saw coming. The morning air over the Negev was still cool when the first radar operators at the Palmakim Air Base detected the incoming target. This wasn't just another routine interception test. For months, intelligence reports had been flowing into Israeli defense headquarters about Iran's new Fatah-2 hypersonic missiles, weapons capable of reaching Tel Aviv in under 7 minutes, while maneuvering unpredictably to avoid traditional missile defense systems. The Iron Dome, David's Sling, and even the Arrow system had been designed for different threats. Ballistic missiles that followed predictable parabolic paths, not hypersonic gliders that could change course mid-flight at 5 times the speed of sound. The target drone launched that morning was designed to replicate exactly what Iranian Fatah-2 could do. Built in partnership with American defense contractors, it carried the same radar signature, the same speed profile, and most critically, the same evasive maneuvering capabilities that made hypersonic weapons so terrifying to defend against. As it screamed across the Mediterranean at Mach 5.2, its trajectory deliberately mimicked the flight path Iran would most likely use in an actual attack. A low approach from the northwest, using the curvature of the Earth to stay hidden from radar until the last possible moment. Standing in the command bunker 30 meters underground, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant watched as dozens of screens displayed the incoming threat. Beside him, the project's lead engineer, Dr. Sarah Chen, monitored the readiness status of Israel's newest defensive weapon, a system so classified that even its name was compartmentalized. Only 7 people in the room knew they were about to witness the first live test of what military insiders called the Merkava shield, a hypersonic interceptor that represented 5 years of development and over $2 billion in investment. The system combined artificial intelligence, plasma propulsion, and targeting algorithms so advanced that they could predict an incoming missile's next maneuver before the missile itself had calculated it. The tension in the bunker was palpable as the target drone crossed into Israeli airspace. Unlike previous tests, where everyone knew the exact timing and trajectory, this simulation introduced random variables. The drone could change course at any moment, just like a real Iranian missile would. At 3:51 a.m., radar operators confirmed the target was behaving exactly as intelligence suggested the Fatah-2 would, diving toward its simulated target while performing a series of sharp lateral movements designed to confuse tracking systems. Traditional interceptors would have lost lock by now, but the Merkava shield's AI had been trained on thousands of hypersonic flight patterns, learning to anticipate rather than simply react. Dr. Chen's fingers moved across her control interface as she authorized the launch sequence. In silos scattered across the Negev, 3 interceptor missiles came online simultaneously. The Merkava shield's revolutionary approach wasn't to launch one perfect shot, but to create a web of interceptors that could adapt in real time, sharing data and adjusting their courses based on what the others observed. As the first interceptor launched, with a sound like thunder splitting the desert air, its plasma propulsion system accelerated it to Mach 6 in under 4 seconds, faster than anything Iran had ever seen. The Iranian monitoring station in Damascus had been tracking Israeli military communications for weeks, but nothing had prepared them for what they observed that morning. Colonel Reza Hosseini, Iran's senior intelligence officer for Israeli military capabilities, watched through satellite feeds as the Israeli interceptor performed maneuvers that defied everything his team understood about missile physics. The interceptor wasn't just fast, it was thinking, calculating the target's next move and positioning itself not where the target was, but where it would be 3 seconds later. When the target drone attempted its most aggressive evasive maneuver, diving toward the ground at a 60-degree angle while simultaneously banking left, the Israeli interceptor matched it perfectly, as if it had known the maneuver was coming. Back in the Israeli command bunker, the moment of truth arrived at 3:58 a.m. The interceptor's proximity sensors detected the target at a distance of 200 meters, in hypersonic terms, practically touching. What happened next lasted less than half a second, but would be analyzed frame by frame for months afterward. Instead of using a traditional explosive warhead, the Merkava shield deployed what engineers called a kinetic web. Thousands of tungsten fragments released in a precisely calculated pattern that created an unavoidable barrier in the target's path. The hypersonic drone, traveling at over a mile per second, had no time to maneuver around the web and disintegrated instantly upon impact. The silence in the bunker lasted exactly 3 seconds before erupting into cheers, but Defense Minister Gallant remained focused on the secondary objective of the test. Hidden from public view, Israeli satellites were simultaneously monitoring Iranian communication networks, measuring how quickly Tehran would detect and analyze what had just happened. The answer came faster than expected. Within 6 minutes, encrypted communications between Damascus and Tehran spiked to levels not seen since the October 7th attacks. Iran's military leadership had been watching, and they understood immediately that their most advanced weapon had just been rendered obsolete. In Tehran, the emergency meeting that began at 4:15 a.m. local time would reshape Iran's entire military strategy. General Hossein Salami, commander of the Revolutionary Guard, faced a crisis that went beyond military tactics. Iran had spent 3 years and billions of dollars developing hypersonic capabilities specifically to overcome Israeli defenses, and in 11 minutes, that entire investment had been neutralized. The recordings of that meeting, later obtained by Israeli intelligence, revealed the depth of Iran's strategic panic. One general was heard saying that continuing with hypersonic missile development would be like bringing swords to a gunfight, while another argued for an immediate shift toward asymmetric warfare tactics that couldn't be countered by technological superiority. The ripple effects of the test extended far beyond the Middle East. Within hours, defense contractors in Moscow, Beijing, and Pyongyang were analyzing every available detail of the Israeli interception, trying to understand how their own hypersonic programs might be vulnerable. The global balance of power had shifted not through a war or a treaty, but through 11 minutes of precision engineering in the desert. Iran's proxies in Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza received new orders within days. Shift focus from high-tech missile attacks to low-tech infiltration and guerrilla tactics that couldn't be stopped by even the most advanced interceptors. The true genius of Israel's strategy became clear in the weeks that followed. By conducting the test openly, with international observers and media present, Israel had achieved something unprecedented in modern warfare. They had won a conflict without firing a shot in anger. Iran's military planners, faced with the reality that their most advanced weapons were useless, began redirecting resources towards cyber warfare, proxy conflicts, and economic pressure campaigns. The hypersonic arms race that had dominated Middle Eastern military planning for 3 years ended not with escalation, but with one side simply walking away from the table. 3 months later, satellite imagery would show Iranian hypersonic missile facilities being converted to drone production centers, confirming what intelligence analysts had suspected. Iran had abandoned its most expensive military program because a single test in the Negev desert had proven it worthless. The Merkava shield had done more than stop a missile. It had stopped an entire category of warfare before it could begin. As we watch tensions continue to evolve in the region, one question remains. In an age where defense can instantly neutralize offense, how do nations project power, and what does this mean for the future of conflict itself? Let me know in the comments what you think will be the next major shift in military technology. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about the moments that change everything.